recording, just so you know. So I asked you to copy down these formulas. These are some really cool formulas because they are how you can find the payments on a loan or how much a loan is going to cost you over the life of that loan. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. This is very applicable to you because some of you already have loans with cars. The rest of you, if you don't, you probably will at some point in your life have a loan for something. So this formula is for loans and loan repayment. R is the amount of the payment, P is the amount of the loan, I is the interest rate per period, which is R over M. M is the number of periods. If it doesn't say otherwise, we're going to assume that's the same as the amount of pay periods. So if we're paying monthly, it'll be 12. Most of the time they don't make that different than the number of payments because that makes the formula more complicated. So for our purposes, M in this will almost always be 12. N is the number of periodic payments. So if I'm paying a 30-year loan monthly, then N is 12 times 30. It's the number of payments I make. And, okay, this formula is a similar formula. It's a future value formula. So this is loan repayment. Future value formula, it's for retirement savings or if you're putting money into an account, making periodic payments. Like for retirement, you don't throw $1,000 in a retirement account and then let it sit for the next 40 years. You put maybe $1,000 in, but then you put maybe $100 in a month or something like that. That's what this formula is for. R is the periodic payment that you're putting in. I is the interest rate per period, still R divided by M. N is the number of periodic payments. S is the future value of the annuity. So we're going to be working with these two formulas today. The other thing we're going to work with today is a calculator program if we have time. If we don't, I'll show you this tomorrow. This is a calculator program that does both of these formulas in one. It's built into your calculator. Those of you going into the accounting or finance fields or any business field, marketing, you'll have to take the basic accounting class, any of those business fields. They will tell you to buy a financial calculator. This is what the financial calculator does. So if you already have a TI-84, you shouldn't have to buy another financial calculator as long as you know that this is built into your calculator and it works. Yes, very quickly. Yes, you can just take a picture if you would rather. It is. N is the number of payments or compounding periods. Again, that's the 360, right? It's the 12 times the 30 or whatever it may be. It's how many times you make a payment. I percent, notice it does have the percent symbol there, so it's actually given as a whole number. This is different from the formula. This is the annual interest rate. Your calculator does the division for the program, so it'll do the I divided by 12. So it's actually a whole number. So if your percentage is 5%, you put 5 right there. A little quirky about this program compared to the formula. Present value is the amount now. So if you're talking a loan, that's the amount that you get. If you're talking about an annuity, it may be 0. You may not have any money in at the beginning. It's whatever the starting value is. PMT is the payment. FV is the future value. On a loan, you always want the future value to be 0 because you want to pay it off. For future value, if we're doing a retirement account or something, would be the amount we have at the end of the account. payments per year and compounding per year, almost always that's going to be 12 and 12. There may be a time they change that, but almost always we're going to be talking 12 and 12. And then the PMT, leave it on the end. That's kind of above the discussion of this class to talk about beginning and end. It is almost always in. There's some rare things that are done at the beginning of the month. Not in this class. So this finance app takes you beyond the scope of those two formulas. Those two formulas don't have the option to change that. Okay, I can go back to that at the end, but we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so I want to purchase a home for $250,000. I have 20% the minimum down payment that I can pay to avoid PMI, and the bank offers a 30-year mortgage at 8%. Go ahead and write that down. I'm going to go copy paste the formula. By the way, those two formulas you do not need to memorize. You just need to know what part means what. So I will give you those formulas when they are on tests. You need to know the ones from yesterday and the day before. These are complex enough if you ever needed to use them, you would use Google. And so we will use Google and look the formulas up.
I thought you said this, but how do you know which one to use?
The first one is for loan repayment. The second one is for retirement savings. Or savings in general for future value stuff. So this is loan repayment, so I'm going to use the loan repayment formula. So I want to purchase a home for $250,000. What in the world is a down payment? The money that I pay up front, is that part of my loan? No, I just pay it and it's done. So what is 20% of $250,000? $50,000. So my loan amount is actually $200,000. Does everyone agree with that? That is my loan amount. As you're writing, private mortgage insurance, PMI, is what you are required to pay if you don't have 20% down. It's so the banks have insurance if you default on your loan. And if you can't put 20% down, they require you to pay PMI. You don't ever get that money back. It's just money you lose in insurance, essentially. So PMI is something you would like to not pay if you had a choice. So I want to find my monthly payment. Remember, R is the payment. So if you're looking at your notes from the bell ringer, R is the payment. That's what I want to find. That's what I'm looking for. P is the loan amount. Well, how much is my loan amount? $200,000.
Wait, so did you just draw a percent?
No, a question mark. That's what I'm trying to find. P is 200,000. I is the interest rate divided by the number of pay periods, which is 12. So the interest rate, which is 8%, divided by 12 is my I. That goes here as well.
So how did you find that? You just didn't put it in the thing.
Well, the loan amount, remember the $250,000 was the house I wanted to buy, but I paid 20% down, which was $50,000, 20% of. So I'm really only taking out a $200,000 loan. Evidently, I paid the $50,000 up front. So if you ever see advertised no money down on a house, which you've probably heard people say that or seen on a sign somewhere, they're paying PMI instead of. So they end up having to pay more in private mortgage insurance until they get up to that $50,000 paid off.
What is in?
Good question. What is in?
Isn't it 12?
Are you going to make 12 payments on this house? How many payments are you going to make? 12 for 30 years. So N is 360. So we're going to type that in the calculator. Pull my calculator. Well, I said N is 360, but yes, in the formula it's negative. So I'm going to type 200,000, and then I'm going to open a parentheses, and I'm going to use a fraction bar. On the top of that fraction bar, I'm going to put 0.08 divide by 12. I don't generally use a fraction bar there. You can if you want to, but then you get fraction bars inside of fraction bars. But
Fraction bar inception.
yes. I'll zoom in a little bit. On the bottom, I'm going to do 1 minus, open parentheses, 1 plus 0.08 divided by 12. All right there, close parentheses, to the negative 360. So I'm typing it exactly like it looks up there. But the numbers plugged in. Push enter. I'm going to leave mine up for another minute or so, but push enter on that. Are we getting 1,400 and something?
Yeah. It's negative. Wait, did you put a
Negative?
negative 360?
I did.
Why is it negative?
The formula.
I got it.
Let me see. Let me see your calculator. Will you hear me? You put a negative on your 0.08 divided by 12 on the top. In fact, you didn't put a 0.08, you put negative 0.08.
Oh, I just
Yeah.
I just thought it was multiply that by 360, which is how many payments you're making. Like the numbers, and it gives you like
500,000.
that's how much you're paying total $1,000.
So, isn't it upsetting?
Yeah,
Isn't it?
paying it
like interest.
paying it like 100.
In fact, we're about to answer that
It's
question.
really not even paying the benefits. You're paying like.
Yeah, you're paying for your house and then you're paying stuff
You
out
might
to
as well
borrow
just
that
save
money.
up for it.
The power of interest, right?
You might as well just
Okay, so 1467 and 53 cents. You would have a few additional costs in there to your house payment. You'd have insurance and other things that go in. So it'd actually be a little higher than that, but that would be the payment that's actually going towards your house. The next question is, what is the total amount that I actually paid for the house?
Will you add that to
Multiply that by what? Why would I multiply that by 360? I paid that 360 times if I took out a 30-year mortgage.
That's crazy. 30 years more.
what kind of house is it?
$250,000 house, like maybe Williamson Place, something like that. You're talking about that. Most houses cost at least $100,000.
That's a lot more money.
Yeah.
This house. That's why you only pay cash.
We're learning some things, aren't we? Oh my goodness, right? Okay, so how much is this?
528,300.
300 even? Like that? Is that eye-opening a little bit?
How did you get? I don't know.
want some logs.
Say about $250,000.
Was this a 10?
Yes.
No.
So I put the 5. Yo, I got 493. I thought they were illegal.
I took that off.
That's still not how much I paid for the house. Why not?
Because you made that.
Quiet, quiet. That's still not enough. I still paid more than that for the house. That's how much I paid in payments. Didn't I put $50,000 down?
I don't understand. Wait, I have to write this down.
So, oh my goodness. Right?
Boxes seem nice.
Woo. So at the very beginning of the problem, remember it was a $250,000 house, but I put 20% down, which was 50.
I'm getting cheated on.
And then I subtracted that and said, okay, I only used a $200,000 loan. How much did I pay in interest?
Too much.
I don't know exactly. It's 300 and something thousand. How do I find it?
That's why I asked you.
How do I find how much I paid in interest? Good. This is how much I paid in total. The house cost $250,000. Everything else is interest. So how much interest was it? Which is, do you know? 300 and something. This is how much I...
28,310, yeah, and 49 cents.
Okay, so Maddie, this is how much I paid in total, right? The house only cost $250, right? Is this eye-opening to you?
Yes. Apparently, I if you made that same kind of fake tank, I mean, if you put that pocket tank out in the backyard and saved it, you could buy that house outright. That's important. If you put it like no interest, but with interest, so
Just for fun, we're not going to do it because we have another problem to do, but Jackson seems like he's gotten pretty quick at this. If you will, run the same interest rate for 15 years.
yeah.
Same interest rate, but a 15-year note instead of a 30-year note. He's going to run that. I'm going to tell you how much interest that would cost you and how much the house would cost you on a 15-year note. You try this one. Different question.
Wait, if you build your own house, you don't have to deal with all that because you built your own house, right?
Most people who build their own house still take out a loan.
Yeah, but you're not paying a house payment.
Yeah, most of the time.
So we're doing the R equals P.
Yeah, so it'd be 180. 180 months. Now your payment will be more.
It's actually better if you're over a lesser amount of time because your payment's more, but you're not
You
drawing
pay way less.
like an interest.
Well, you'd be paying almost $2,000 a month.
Okay, everyone listen really quick. Y'all listening? Same house, or well, let's just do the $200,000 loan. If you did it over 15 years instead of over 30 years, your house payment would be $2,000 instead of $1,400. So you'd have to come up with $600 more a month. But the house would end up costing you
Let's see how much you're paying.
180.
You end up paying $344,000.
So your house would end up costing you $344,000 instead of $528,000. So you see how much money you save just by doing a little extra here and there. So if your parents have ever talked about trying to pay a little extra on their mortgage, that's why they want to do that. There's a reason. If you have the extra money, you want to get it paid off because you're paying a lot of money in interest. Yep. Okay, so same formula, right? This time, what am I trying to find? P, right? I know R is 300. I don't know P. That's what I'm trying to find. 0.07 divided by 12 on top. 1 minus 1 plus 0.07 divided by 12. What is my N? Why 60? Where in the world did you come up with 60? 5 years, 12 months. So I make 60 payments. Everyone see how that formula is set up?
Mm-hmm.
How can I find P? 2 options. Someone give me one of them.
By that.
This is just some nasty number, right?
Yep.
Divide by it. Okay, option number 2 is one side in y1, one side in y2, find the intersection. I would recommend the intersection if I'm trying to find I or N or something like that. For this one, I think dividing is faster. So, I'm going to type the formula. The part in the parentheses would be 0.07 divided by 12, 1 minus, open parentheses, 1 plus 0.07 divided by 12, raised to the negative 60. Now that's only the part in the parentheses, right? Everyone agree with that? I need to divide 300 divided by that.
I always just type it in.
Learned all kinds of things in here. 15,150 and 60 cents. I have it in both places. So if I can afford the $300 a month payment, then I could afford, that's how much I could go shopping and afford a $15,000 car if I was willing to make those payments over 5 years. Of course, I'm going to ask you this question a lot because I think it's an important life skill for you to know. What am I really going to pay for the car? How will I know? Multiply that by? Oh, sorry. Multiply what by 60? No. $300 by 60. Why 300? That's how much I'm paying every month, right? Which is $18,000. So in that 5-year time span, I've essentially given up $3,000. Let's be more accurate on that. It's like $2,849 and 49 cents. 40 cents. Does everyone know how we're getting these numbers?
You just
Subtract the 15,000, that's right. Oh, I always waited till the end of the year to do that. That's a good idea. Okay, any questions about that one? Do y'all find this interesting?
I get it.
I find
You may or may not like math, but you can't deny the importance of this to your real life, right? Big. I told you at the beginning of exponentials and logarithms that this was a big chapter. It is. It's a little bit that it looks messy because real world stuff looks messy, but It's useful. If you enjoy it, it's not. Maybe you should go into accounting or finance. Okay. This is a different formula. You don't need to know it. They will always give it to you, but I just wanted you to be aware of it. Y'all listening? This formula is something that comes up in biology, and it's a exponential growth with a limiting factor formula. What that means is population grows exponentially, sort of. For example, in a pond, you can only hold so many fish, right? So when you first put a couple fish in the pond, the population may grow exponentially for a while, but at some point the pond can't sustain more than a certain amount of fish. This is a formula that comes up. Again, you don't need to know the formula. They will give it to you. So it says, how many days will it take for 500 students to be infected? You'll put a 500 in for n, and you'll use your calculator to find an intersection. Everyone know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
So just work with the formula like any other formula. You will see when you graph it, again, I don't have time to graph it, but it will look like this, where there is a top end. When it says what appears to be the upper limit, that's what I'm looking for. On this one, it's actually 800, but you're looking for what is the top end of that. What's that seem to be leveling off to? Use your trace button or your table to find that. And this is your homework. Page 387, 24, 26, 27, and 395, 10, and 29. Tomorrow I will show you how to use your calculator program that does it essentially does both of those formulas that I showed you how to use today. It does both of them, but it has some quirks to it. You got to be a little creative in the way you use it to make it do both formulas. So. But I'll show you that tomorrow. Any questions? They do have parts, but still, you're right, it's not that many.